You said age didn't matter. You were going to have oral sex. You were going to give him oral sex. You told him straight up that you knew he was 13.
This is the moment Timothy Kine, a 42-year-old, realized he'd been caught. Timothy tried meeting up with a 13-year-old boy, but unfortunately for him, John was actually a decoy placed by the To Catch a team and was run by a team of experienced catchers. After just a week of online chats, Tim was lured in and taken down by the cops. After being apprehended, he was brought into the police station where the interrogation began.
Tim, do you know why you're here? No. Why did you come to Highland Heights tonight? Can you tell me?
I was going to meet this guy, and we were going to watch the movies and stuff. We just met online. I was actually going to be in the area anyways, and
Tim decides to play dumb and acts as though he's got no idea he's done anything wrong. A classic first move many make, but somehow not as common as his next claim.
Who was that person?
John, I can't remember his last name.
How old was he?
18, I think. I really don't know.
18. Okay. How'd you meet him?
Online.
Do you chat online?
Yeah.
Quite frequently?
Of course, he says John was 18 years old, the legal age of consent in Kentucky where all this took place. This response is actually so common that lots of people actually treat it as an incriminating statement. If a 40-year-old is comfortable meeting up with and having with an 18-year-old, they're either lying about the kid's age or very likely also willing to meet up with someone that's 17 or younger.
I have some chat logs where you all talked back and forth, and I think that person told you they were 13 in the chat log.
I wouldn't meet somebody 13 years old.
No. So
that's too, that's too young.
Yeah.
Not only did John tell Tim he was 13, it was almost the very first thing he said. And while Tim acknowledges here that 13 is too young, his messages contradict that as well, with him explicitly stating that he really doesn't care about the age. It's the guy that he's interested in.
You want to tell me a little bit about how you chatted with, was it John, you said?
Yeah. Nothing, we just met and, it just went from there.
Did you have something in common?
Just seemed like a nice guy,
It doesn't take a genius to realize that Tim's keeping his answers as short and vague as possible here as a way to hide the true nature of his messages. Tim already knows he's in trouble and what he's likely in trouble for. His only play is to try and convince the detectives that he was there for a different purpose. Unfortunately for him, though, the cops think they have everything they need to take him down.
I've read a little bit of the chat that you had, and there were some underlying issues of maybe homosexuality. Was that maybe the reason for your contact with John?
Could be, but if he's
and
the age, if that's what you said, that's that would never happen.
Mm-hmm. So, but you were interested in him because he was or man?
Personality and so forth.
Personality.
Friends.
Many people have noted that the detective's comments here are besides the point of the interrogation, but there is the possibility that it was a question posed to trick Tim into incriminating himself. If Tim was interested in John strictly because he was homosexual, that implies that his intentions with John were sexual. However, this does become a somewhat pointless argument when you realize the pair met on a website called gay.com.
I get the feeling that you think that we're trying to mess with you. That's not the case at all. We're here to find out what this situation was so that we can explain it. Without your help.
That's the situation. That's
you understand me though?
I understand you.
So I need you to come clean with me and tell me what this was all about.
That's exactly what it was about. If I meet somebody, fine. If it goes farther, that's cool. But I'm not looking for, I'm looking for friends. Yeah. Maybe a relationship.
Tim and the cops continue to talk about everything that's happened so far, with Tim explaining there was nothing inherently about the meetup, and he had no idea the guy was 18. But as the cops start to repeat the same questions over and over, he starts to get visually uncomfortable. So the cops decide to ramp up the intensity to see if they can get him to crack.
Tim, we got some problems here. Whenever you talked to John, you told him straight up that you knew he was 13. I can't tell you how many times in this chat log that you tell him that you know he's 13. You talk about spring break. You ask him when his mom's leaving. You planned on coming to stay. Hold on, I've listened to you, okay? I'm gonna lay it out for you because here it is. You were coming to stay all weekend, not just a day. You told him you were coming all weekend. You were gonna have oral. You were gonna give him oral. You asked him the first time that if he'd been caught by his mother. And whenever he asked you how old you were when you started, you said 13 or 14, and he said I was the same age, and you said that you understood. So don't tell me that you don't know that he was 13, and that wasn't your intention to come here and have the 13-year-old.
No, that was not my intention.
It was absolutely your intention, Tim. Don't fill me full of crap. I'm done with that game. That game is over. Now, do we want to talk about what your intentions were here? Because I'm beginning to think you're
not a.
All the messages that the detectives are referring to are public, so we can see exactly how disgusting they really are. Not only was he constantly telling John he liked him, wanted to date him, and would do anything for him, they also talked explicitly about cuddling, making out, oral and masturbation. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Tim lied about his age and said countless other creepy and things. In court, it's possible an experienced legal team could argue that Tim misread John's age or completely missed it in the first place. His words back this up when he's explicitly said if he found out the kid was just 13, he wouldn't have engaged in any activity. However, many of his other messages carry the implication that he was fully aware that John was underage, and that it was even his primary focus.
If I would have found out, if I would have known, then I knew, and then I just didn't realize it. Because when I looked on the website, it had a date, like 1974, something like that. So that's the connection that I thought. Okay.
You've already told me that everybody lies online. Why would you think that that's correct?
Until you meet somebody and go.
Until you chatted with him and he told you he was 13 years old.
I made a mistake.
And you said that was great. That was fine. You did not have a problem with the age difference.
Yes.
You talked to him about high school. You talked to him about girls at school and the boys. If there are any gay boys at his school, at his high school.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things.
In the past few minutes, Tim's stance has changed from a relaxed, open stance to a rigid, upright one. He's also crossed his arms in front of him and has his shoulders lifted, both telltale signs that somebody is feeling very uncomfortable. Tim also decides to take off his jacket, likely meaning he's very uncomfortable, and feels a subconscious need to reset the entire interaction. Lastly, his legs are crossed, and his feet are crossed and constantly moving around, implying a huge amount of anxiety, and a subconscious need to exit the interaction entirely. After almost an hour of interrogation, the police decide that they're not making any progress right now and decide to step out temporarily. This gives them a chance to drop their next move whilst also leaving the suspect alone, letting them stew and become more anxious about their current situation. After an hour of waiting, the detectives finally return.
But you told me you already realized that this was a child. Tim,
I would not have had with a child. I'm sorry.
Tim, you talked to him about the Easter bunny. An Easter basket.
God, I got an Easter basket.
You asked him if he still believed in the Easter bunny. Don't tell me you thought he was 18 years old.
Ask somebody if they.
You absolutely asked him.
No. Do you still believe in Easter bunny?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. And it's in black and white. Now come off of it. Any judge is going to see that. Any jury is going to see that, and they're going to say, this guy is absolutely a
Well, then I guess it's going to have to go that far.
Away.
You know, it's going to have to go that far then.
So is this the profile you saw for John?
Yeah.
And can you show me where on here you thought that he was 18?
I can't.
Because it's not there and it never was.
Here it says
Yeah.
73.
Yeah, but then on his,
Yeah.
Yahoo.
See, I've
it says he's 13.
never looked at
Which you also went there.
location.
See, Tim? You
See,
what
that's
this,
where.
No, you see what
I
this
mean,
looks like?
Yeah, I see what it looks like. It's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
Yes, it is. See, I made a mistake. You know, because I
You
still
didn't
would
make
not.
a mistake, you
I
knew.
still would not have went for somebody because they're underage. I'm looking. 18 would have been fine.
He didn't have
But
a
I
car.
made a mistake.
He didn't have a car. He didn't have a driver's license. He couldn't meet you somewhere because he was
Well,
13
I didn't
years
put
old.
2 and 2 together
you
that he
knew
was
that.
13 years old. I did not know that. I did not. I mean, I did not know that.
Despite Tim still not confessing or budging even an inch, the detectives still believe they have everything they need to bring him to justice. And that's exactly what happened. Timothy Kine was charged with a felony count of interstate travel to engage in of a minor and was sentenced to 46 months in prison, as well as 20 years of supervised release and a mark on his permanent record as a registered